Welcome to another fun NBA draft profile, and today's topic, Zach Edey. Edey, the big man that most of people have heard of at this point, I would hope so. Senior from Purdue, spent all 4 years at Purdue. Center, 7'4", 300 pounds, and is a guy who really improved each and every year he was at Purdue. And I think that says a lot about Zach Edey. So the stats, 25 points per game, 12 rebounds, 2 assists on 62% shooting from the floor and 71% shooting from the free throw line. He did hit one of his 2 3-point attempts on the season. Just over 2 blocks per game and just over 2 turnovers per game. And Edey is just a physically dominant player who just put every team he played against, except for Connecticut really, into major foul trouble and just completely changed the game when he was on the court. Whether it was forcing the opposition to send doubles at him and enabling his teammates to get open threes, or on the opposite end of the court, just completely taking away the paint and forcing teams to shoot from the outside or from mid-range. In college, Edey was a matchup nightmare for the opposition, and he did a really good job of establishing position, especially the past 2 seasons, establishing position inside and scoring with like a hook shot over his left shoulder. Just rinse and repeat over and over again. And then the NCAA tournament, we got to see that just game after game, where he averaged 29.5 points and 14.5 rebounds across the 6 games in the tournament. And I would say Edey, one area where I really felt like he improved was his mobility from his junior to senior year. He was much more mobile, rolling down the lane in the pick and roll on offense, and a little bit better defensively in that area. And he did a good job of passing out of, double teams. While his assist numbers weren't necessarily high at 2 a game, I did think he did a good job of passing out. It may not have been necessarily that his initial pass would get the assist, but rather that the next pass would. So he'd get a lot of like hockey assists, if you will. So he did make some improvements this year, but there are some questions still, I think, and that's why for a guy who averaged 25 and 12, he's not necessarily he's not a lottery pick, right? And those concerns are justified. One is obvious, he's not a shooter. And in the age of 3-point shooting, you can have a center who's not a great shooter, but you don't necessarily want to. And on top of that, he is still, as he did get quicker, he's still kind of slow. And I want to be fair to Zach Edey. Slow in comparison to some other guys who are going to play at center who aren't as big, who are maybe 6'10", 240, and are just much more athletic than him. And we really saw the evidence of that potential problem in the NCAA championship game. And it wasn't against Donovan Clingan, but rather against the backup center for UConn in Samson Johnson, who got free for back-to-back alley-oop dunks when he was just able to beat Edey down the lane using his speed and quickness. And we've seen a lot of this in the NBA playoffs with the Dallas Mavericks matched up against the Timberwolves, and their 2 centers, Gafford and Lively, are just much faster. And when Gobert is put into a pick and roll, Luka Doncic is able to get lob opportunities to those faster centers. And that's the play that concerns me for Edey and the NBA level. With that being said, though, I still think there's a role and a value to having a guy like Zach Edey, whether that's for 10 to 15 minutes or maybe down the road 20 to 25. So would I draft Edey? I would, but it would depend on where. Like, I've seen some places where he's a fringe lottery pick somewhere between 15 and 20, and I think back half of the first round, early second round is where I would see the value in a guy like Zach Edey. And he would certainly be valuable for teams who could use a center or even just like a backup center. Maybe Denver could look for a backup center for Jokic. Maybe It's a little bit earlier in the draft, but the Pelicans could certainly use a center. Just teams that could use a big body would make sense for a guy like Zach Edey. And a comp, I think he's a slower Ivica Zubac. I think that's really the guy he's got to model his game after and see if he can perform to a similar level. But those are my thoughts on Zach Edey. I'm curious what you guys think. Will he have success at the NBA level or not? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more great NBA draft content.